At the time of this recording, it is June 14th, 2023. Mother Nature is being a pain in the ass right about now. Thunder and lightning and hailstorms and all other kinds of crap going on outside. But irregardless, I'm going to talk about today's subject, which is the coulda, woulda, and shoulda been of the DC Extended Universe, or the DCEU for short. Now, like I said, time of this recording, June 14th, 2023. 10 years ago on this day, Man of Steel came out in theaters. What was supposed to have been the beginning of a franchise that was DC's answer to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, over the past decade has not, the juice really has not been worth the squeeze for the past decade. It has not. And it sucks to say because I always want to look for the good and positives in a lot of things. Hell, 30 plus years ago when I was in grade school, I always imagined a world to where I would see my favorite comic book characters on the big screen. But now that's just long and gone out the window. It really is. Of course, I wear my Superman shirt because it still gives me hope. But I'm not holding my breath at this point. And also around this time of this recording, since The Flash's film is coming out in theaters, I'm just going to go ahead and say too little, too late. But without further ado, let me go ahead and present to you my AAR after action review of Man of Steel, plus the coulda, woulda, and shoulda been of the DCEU. Where I'm going to name some ups, my downs, and what I wanted to see, but I'm going to cheat a little bit by combining my downs and my coulda, woulda, shouldas into one category. Because I have more of those than I have ups. My ups is mainly going to be from the Man of Steel, but anything past that, like I said, not holding my breath for it. So, here's my notes, because I ain't going to memorize all this crap. So, here we go. Now, as far as Man of Steel goes, again, like I said, it started off as the beginning of the DC Extended Universe. Now, me personally, I felt that could have been done in 2011 with Green Lantern starring Ryan Reynolds, but that was poorly handled too, and it bombed so bad in the theaters. Let's just say I'm glad that Ryan Reynolds did Deadpool and he's doing Deadpool 3 to make up for that atrocity that he did in 2011. I'll just leave it at that. Another up, for years, we've always seen every other superhero fight their villains on the screen. You always see Spider-Man fighting Venom and Green Goblin. You always see Batman fighting Joker and Bane. All these heroes have fought their own arch rivals in their films and TV shows, but we're always seeing Superman catching planes and just flying fast and stuff. But this film finally gets to let Superman throw hands. I like that. And speaking of throwing hands, I will say that being that I was in the military and stationed in Fort Riley, Kansas, there's a petty part of me that was glad to see part of Kansas get totally demolished in that one fight scene that he had with the two Kryptonians. So there's that. So yeah. Third thing I like, didn't spend too much time on his origin story. We all know the origin story of Superman. Sure, there was bits and pieces that showed on his time at Krypton, but he didn't do it in a chronological order of like, okay, here he is born on Krypton, then he has to fly all the way to Earth, then he got to get raised by the Kents, and then he goes to Metropolis, blah, 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 blah. No, it showed bits and pieces of his origin story because for years, everyone should know Superman's origin story by now. Same as with Batman and Spider-Man's origin stories. Albeit they always got to show Martha and Thomas Wayne and Uncle Ben respectively get killed every time they do a reboot or reimagining or whatever the crap, but whatever. Glad they didn't spend too much time on his origin story. That's cool. Personally, my fourth one, I liked Henry Cavill as Superman. As a matter of fact, I like Henry Cavill, period. Being the fact that Henry Cavill can relate to a lot of the other nerds out there. because at the time Zack Snyder called him, this man was in the middle of playing World of Warcraft, and he didn't return Zack Snyder's call until he got finished playing Warcraft because he said, I got priorities. But Cavill as Superman, I like the fact that, yeah, the suit, everything fit him well. But when I get into my downs, I'm going to mention how how the character was written, it should have been more Superman-ish. Superman-ish, damn, I didn't mean to say that. But it should have been more Superman-like than just him being this brooding, soaking God that's like, I'm not too sure of myself in the world, and how the hell the character was written. But yeah, like I said, I like Cavill as Superman. He fit the role well, but I just don't like the way how his character was written for the context of the story. And my other up, there was the Wayne Enterprises Easter egg. In his fight with Zod, when they fought into space, then back down to Earth, you saw there was a Wayne Enterprises satellite in the sky. So, yeah, we knew what was going to come from that. But now that I got those few ups out the way, it's time for me to get to the downs, and I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible because it gave me a freaking headache trying to pinpoint downs. And like I said, the downs and the coulda, wouldas, and shouldas. So not only am I going to talk about Man of Steel, but the DCEU totally in general. So, yeah. First of all, like I said, I know a petty part of me is glad they messed up Kansas. But when they fought in Metropolis, all that destruction that was going on, and then the next day, a few scenes later, everything in Metropolis was built back to normal like nothing happened. All the buildings was intact. People going on their daily lives as if they didn't just see two superpowered beings just destroy their whole city. The thing, though, however, how come Superman couldn't just fly Zod's ass out of Metropolis and they could have messed up mountains and did whatever the hell they wanted to do there? At least in the anime Dragon Ball Z, wherever Goku and his allies fight another superpower threat, at least they have enough sense to go to a deserted island, the middle of the ocean, another planet, whatever, so where nobody can get hurt, get killed, and they can basically just go all out. But yeah, he could have flown them somewhere else and they could have beat the hell out of each other for all I care. Jonathan Kent's death. Superman, the motion picture with Christopher Reeves, Smallville, and recently Superman and Lois on the CW, Jonathan Kent dies of heart failure. In this film, Jonathan Kent gets killed because he doesn't want Clark to save him from a tornado. Bruh, come on, really? He could have been in and out in the Flash, pun intended. I'm just saying. What the DCEU, could have been. This, like I said, could have been awesome and spectacular. Had they, and I mean by they, everyone involved behind the scenes would have taken their time and understood each of these characters individually instead of trying to play catch up with Marvel after Marvel did the Avengers back in 2012. Instead of them trying to compete with Marvel, they should have focused more on building this universe and letting the fans get to know who these characters are. Let's take Aquaman, for example. Instead of him just being a guy that just calls fish and having Jason Momoa play as him, they could have fleshed out his character more instead of him just being a dude in the sea and introducing him in Justice League and then giving him his own solo film. It just didn't work for me. And also making cameo appearances. Same thing with The Flash, with Barry Allen. Instead of him being a guy that can run real fast and make corny jokes, and the guy that plays as him, I'm going to get to that in a minute, his film should have came out before they did a Justice League film. I'm just saying, Cyborg, his character could have been fleshed out a little bit more, even though when we saw Zack Snyder's 4-hour cut of Justice League, there was a lot put into his character. So yeah, and I'm gonna get to that part too. Also, there's no excuse as to why Warner Brothers and DC could not have made a Justice League film before Marvel did an Avengers film. DC and Warner Brothers has been working with each other for too damn long. They should have been had a live action version of Justice League out in theaters. But to be fair, well, not to be fair, to be honest, the best version of Justice League is not even its live action format. It's the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited TV shows, the animated TV shows that bring more depth to every character. So instead of it being just the Batman, the Superman, Wonder Woman show, every member of the Justice League had their chance to shine in every episode that came out, which makes it awesome. And yep, they could have used as a blueprint to build the DCEU. It was that simple. They had a blueprint right there. Another thing, no consistency. When you look at a bunch of plot holes and plot points, they just didn't have a payoff. For example, in Man of Steel, when the one army colonel, I know the actor's name is Christopher Maloney. I can't remember the colonel's name, but when he fought Fiora, who was General Zod's second in command, when they got sucked into the Phantom Zone, nothing else just came of that afterwards. Like, couldn't she have escaped from the Phantom Zone? That could have been set up later on down the road. Also, when you watch Joss Whedon's Justice League, they teased Deathstroke at the end of that movie in the end credit scene. There was no payoff to that. Henry Cavill coming back at the end of Black Adam, just for them to say, "Oh, by the way, Cavill is no longer involved with our direction according to James Gunn." Again, no consistency, more flops than successes. Moving right along. Back to what I was saying about Cavill as Superman. I like Cavill as Superman. Cavill has that screen presence. He does. He has the looks. He's tall. He's handsome. He is the way he carries himself. And like I said, he's also a nerd as well. But apparently, the way how Superman was written, nobody captured what makes Superman Superman. We want to see a Superman who's serious, but at the same time, he's relatable to people versus being dark and brooding and just dark and brooding. The dark and brooding stuff belongs to Batman, not Superman, who's supposed to symbolize, hope, the S on the chest, whatever. No Man of Steel 2. We almost got Brainiac as a villain in the next Man of Steel film had they done it. Again, like I said, post-credit scenes, zero payoff. Like I said, each Justice League member should have had their origin story prior to this film. The backstage politics that was going on at Warner Brothers, and DC, I don't know what the hell happened with that. That played into a lot of DCEU's downfall. Now I understand Zack Snyder had to step away due to a family emergency. And while I'm thinking about this, Zack Snyder's Justice League, even though it's 4 hours long, is proof showing that when studios leave a director alone and keep their nose out of a director's business and let them do their job, we got to see Zack Snyder's vision of what the Justice League, his version of Justice League was. But again, too bad, there's no payoff at the end because we got introduced to Martian Manhunter in this film. You couldn't find out the Air Force general was Martian Manhunter this whole time, which was pretty awesome. Again, no payoff, but again, going back to Zack Snyder's Justice League, when studios leave these directors alone and let them do their job and give us their vision, look what could have happened if they would just restore the mother freaking Snyderverse. Talk about the CGI. Take Aquaman, for example. Aquaman was just overblown with all types of all over the place CGI creature effects. I was just going, I'm lost. I don't know what the hell's going on. Joss Whedon's Justice League, their CGI looks like some Windows 96 PowerPoint crap. Wonder Woman 84, when she fought Cheetah, Cheetah looked like she was a reject that didn't make the final cuts of the live action Cats movie. Um, you can tell a lot of stuff is just straight CG to where it's just like, okay, all these films are basically being the same damn thing over and over again. I'll say the villain issues, the same with the MCU. Superman has more rogues in his gallery than just Lex Luthor, Doomsday, and General Zod. We got Darkseid on the screen, but nothing came of it. Steppenwolf was crap in Justice League. Well, Joss Whedon's Justice League, he was crap. Zack Snyder's version of Justice League, I like that version a whole lot better. Speaking of Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg is a hell of a good actor. But the way how Lex Luthor was written, he acted like that dude needed to be on Ritalin or whatever, just going out and saying, oh, what a coinky dink then. Oh, you don't want to fight this guy. And all this other. It was just that is not Lex Luthor. I understand this is Luthor before he lost his hair, but all that. That shit got on my fucking nerves. Part of my language, but it did. And I'm like, that is not Lex Luthor. Somebody did not do their homework and read what Luthor was all about. They did not. Piss me off. Moving right along to this next page. Yeah, you heard me flip because I still got some more downs and coulda, woulda, shouldas. Well, actually this. Warner Brothers should just have their ducks in a row like Disney did. Whenever one of your talent goes out there and messes up or there's problems with a director, you address it right then and there, and if it's going to hurt your product, you do what you got to do. Let's talk about the elephant in the room that is Ezra Miller. So much is banking on the success or whatever the returns that the Flash is going to give the DCEU. But at this point, like I said, too little, too late. That ship done been sailed. And now that you got Ezra Miller going out here doing whatever the hell it is he wants to do, no repercussions because you needed to hit him to help promote this film, and you still plan on keeping him after all the stuff he's done, and then you get rid of Henry Cavill, and then the stuff that happens backstage with Joss Whedon, when Ray Fisher spoke about it, you let him go, but then when other people said something, oh, it's cool. Again, what hurts a product a lot is when you have backstage politics. And it's not the actors and actresses or everybody in Hollywood that's going to suffer. Their pockets are still going to get fat regardless. It's us as the fans who's going to hurt and be more frustrated because you're giving us a crap product. You're giving us crap. You're not giving us it's like going to a burger joint. It looks good on TV, but when you get the burger, it's all smushed up and just juices and everything falling all over the damn place. And it's just not enjoyable. Presentation matters. And when people keep their noses out of crap, you got a bed of roses that can smell good every day. Whatever the hell that meant I just said. But overall, you see my frustration. Overall, there was no excuse for the DCEU to fail the way it did within this past 10 years. Anything that they do later on is dead. It's done in the water. Nothing pays off. There's no reason as to why they should have failed the way they did. That's what I mean. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. All of this would have worked perfectly. And instead of trying to compete with Marvel, again, like I said, focus on telling your stories with these characters so the fans can know who they are. Instead of just being the person who's the flavor of the month, playing as these characters. Oh, and another thing too, that's another down to me. Let's go back to Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. In the trailers, you reveal Wonder Woman. Okay? You reveal Wonder Woman. They would have left Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman out of the trailer. It would have had more of an impact when you saw the theater. Like, oh yeah, we got Wonder Woman? What? Doomsday. Like I said, the CGI Doomsday looked like crap too. But one plus I will say though, however, with the DCEU, is at least when we got Wonder Woman's origin story, they did not make her a freaking Mary Sue. She was a god, but she didn't act like a god and thought that she was better than everybody else. And that's it with that up, and that's it with my downs. And you hear my frustrations of how I feel about this. Um, James Gunn coming in, I really hope he knows what the hell he's doing. Now, with his movie The Suicide Squad was a huge improvement from the original Suicide Squad that came out in 2016. Plus, we've seen what he can do with the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, and you take characters nobody knows about and make them household names overnight. I really hope that his vision that he brings to the table actually is much better than this crap that we was force fed for the past 10 years. Because as far as the DCEU goes, what should have been a flawless wet dream just turned into dry, crusty bed sheets and just dry sheet disappointment. It really did. And DC and Warner Brothers, they made this bed, except for they didn't lay in it. They pissed all in the bed and made us as the fans sleep in their wet spot. So, see this right here? Throw my notes to the side. I'm done. That's my AAR. Hopefully next one I do, I'm more positive than what I am. I'm more upbeat about it. But until then, goddamn, no excuses at all as to why this shit failed.